We are gathered here today to rumble. I want to talk just a brief couple minutes about the event coming up, April 10th through 12th, actually 11th and 12th, here at the church, is the 2015 BFC Spring Fling. Saturday, we kick things off with the first annual Nyan's Ride for the Kids. 100% of the rider registration and the meal will go to the Foster Care Association. Back when Nyan was sick, we spent a lot of time, took a leave of absence, came up and spent a lot of time with her in the hospital, and we talked about a lot of things, man. I mean, some crazy stuff, but you know, some things that were on both our hearts, and one of them was when we knew that she was getting ready to receive her healing in person. I told her something that was on my mind and heart, you know, after I moved up here, and she told me, she said, "Well, you're going to start a BFC chapter here, I know," and because there wasn't one here, the closest one was up in Charleston. And God opened the doors for that to happen. But I told her, I said, I want to do as God leads, do a memorial ride or a benefit ride. And I asked her, I said, Nyan, do you want the money to go to, that we raised to go to cancer research or what? She immediately said, no, I want it to go to the kids. And, everybody that knows her, knows that that's where her heart was. Total sacrifice for foster kids and then adopting 4. So, anyways, that's where we're at with that. The Foster Care Association here in Mercer County is really working hard. They're going to be cooking up some hot dogs and I don't know what it was kind of sounding like a Ryan's buffet last meeting we had. It may be. Anyways, registration for that is at 9 a.m. Kickstands up, or we leave out on the ride 10. If we're still registering bikers, it'll be 10:30. The flyers in the back have this information as far as the cost goes, the registration. Non-riders, be here. Okay? Now, if you don't want to come and, just kind of, hang out, but, want to be here when the ride comes back, I would get here about noon. Okay? When we get back, we'll start the festivities. The Salt Shakers Blues Review will be rocking the parking lot. Special guest brings to me Rich Vreeland will be coming in. He'll be coming in Friday night. He is a Harley-Davidson dealer owner in Pennsylvania. Got to meet him last summer. He's going to bring a couple of his Nitro Pro Drag Harleys. We will not be doing a stunt show in the parking lot, and he will not be racing, okay? But he will fire those things up and give his testimony. After you see the power of those machines, then he talks about what real power is, and that's the power through him. Everybody I think knows this. I had the privilege to meet and hang out with this man when I was in North Carolina. The machine gun preacher, Sam Childers, he will be pulling in Saturday about noonish. He'll be hanging out over here. He has a 75-foot rig with all his some of his rat bikes that he builds and everything. But very approachable. Do not be afraid to go up and introduce yourself and meet him. Then he will be doing the service Sunday morning. I wanted to emphasize this. Saturday, we'll be winding things down about 4:30, okay, and taking a little break. Saturday evening, we'll be back here at 7. Pastor Z, the founder and national elder with Bikers for Christ, will be speaking, and that's at 7 o'clock back here at the church. Everybody's welcome to that. That's not just a BFC meeting or event. Sunday morning, Rumble Sunday. Bikers are going to start rolling in about 9 a.m. Service will start at 10 as normal. The speaker will be Sam Childers, the machine gun preacher. This is a real opportunity, and you guys pray about this. I don't know how much you've looked at his websites and everything since hearing about him coming, but this will be the opportunity for us as a church to plant seed into his ministry. He'll talk about where God took him. He started out as a drug dealer and killing drug dealers, robbing them, and God got a hold of him. And then he got really a hold of him, called him to do some missions work. He goes over to Uganda, and he sees what's going on just to the south in the Sudan, where Coney is kidnapping kids, having them kill their parents. Then he's training them to be guerrilla fighters. Okay, and I'm talking about dozens and dozens and dozens. Well, Sam, got a hold of him and said, do something about it. Sam goes, okay. So he goes over. He starts kidnapping the kids from the kidnapper. And through the years, he's built orphanages and schools and farms. Very, very hard worker. Sam is, if you've seen the movie or anything, make sure you watch like the documentary trailer because you get a real glimpse of what Sam's like. Now, Gerard Butler's not going to be here. I tried. I couldn't get a check. Where's Scott at? Okay. I want to mention 3 or 4 things here. Attendance possibilities. We never know. Right now, I have coming in for the weekend, I have around 200 confirmed that's already made hotel reservations. Now, those are bikers. A lot of BFC, a lot of other Christian MCs, as well as people that they ride with. So we know that we're going to have that many coming in. That's a lot of motorcycles. Trying to get a head count, it's real hard to get an exact number. We anticipate 400 to 500 motorcycles to be in the ride. Now, if you do the math on that, who won that math award? Where is she? If you do the math on that, that's a nice chunk of change for the Foster Care Association. And that's not including 9 riders coming in. We have a Facebook page, an event page. Go to BFC Spring Fling. That's got all the information on there. But we're looking at some high attendance. So parking is not going to be normal. Okay, real quick. This side on Saturday, this side of the church basically is going to be like the car and bike show was. It's going to be blocked off. That's going to be the venue. Okay, we're going to have 2 75-foot rigs set up over there. The band's going to set up there. We're going to have food right along the church here. We're going to have closest to the road, about half of the front parking lot will be lining up for the ride. There'll be some places over here. We've got parking down the street here, over here. So, we're going to have a parking crew, so just kind of follow their directions. On Sunday, the handicap places over here will be open, okay? But there again, that side over is going to be the venue as far as we don't want pedestrians dodging cars, trying to find a parking place. The other thing that I wanted to mention, if out of any Sunday, families that have multiple cars, out of any Sunday, please pile into one car and come on, enjoy the family time. Sing some songs on the way. We're going to church. We're going to hear the machine gun preacher. All right, the last couple things I want to mention is this. Guys, Sunday, we could have 800-900 people. We could have 1,500 people. I don't know. Scott and I were talking about this. It's kind of a good problem to have, because a lot of these people are going to be local. A lot of these people are never. I've talked to people out in the community, never been to a church in their life, and they heard about the machine gun preacher and they saw the movie. They're coming. This is our opportunity as a church family to tote his light to where it usually don't get toted, and that's in their hearts. Okay? We want to have excitement. We want to welcome people, make them feel they're important. Not that we don't do that. That's one thing that's always been impressive, about the family here. But anyways, want to do that. Now, what we're going to do after church, after the service this morning, I need to see anybody that wants to help out with the event. We have needs like parking, parking attendants. We have help and serve, help and registration. Whether you can be here for part of the day Saturday or the whole day Saturday or both days, meet up front here after church, and I'll go over what our needs are and note that. This includes people that I've already talked to. Okay, so Chris, you can't run out after church. but anyways, I think that's about it. Is there anything I'm leaving out, Scott? Okay.
And I know that you guys aren't going to remember a lot of those logistics a month from now, so we'll go over that when we get closer and make sure you guys understand how we're going to tweak some things. But I love my brother's optimism, but Jackie, you got any idea what we do with that many people in this little building? Happening around here, isn't it? It's good stuff, exciting things. And get plugged in, man. This is not the kind of place you come and just sit and be a fan. This is the kind of place you come and become a follower and get plugged in, because you're going to know what's really going on in life if you'll come and plug in. All right. Had a blast yesterday with all the kids. Just kids. Kids are awesome. Kids are awesome. And when we went to Beckley yesterday to the Civic Center up there, it's just interesting as you walk around and talk to the parents, because clearly it would appear that the parents are much more nervous than the children. We all live vigorously through our children's lives. Most of us do. And I always tell Hannah, it's like, I never did stuff like this when I was a kid. I didn't get to do all these social studies fairs and science fairs and stuff. I grew up on a farm. There was no taking time away from farm work to do anything extracurricular. And so now I'm just now getting around to doing my social studies fairs and my science fairs. So I love helping her. And, of course, she has to do the hard part. But I love helping her. And we were sitting there waiting on her number to be called yesterday to go back to the judging. And I'm trying to lighten the mood and stuff, and she's sitting there, and I see her lips moving and her eyes are closed, and I'm thinking, man, this child is praying, man. She's just crying out to God. And I said, baby, you want Daddy to pray with you? And she just elbowed me. She said, shh. And then I listened closer, and she was rehearsing her speech, and she just had such a little load on her, and all the kids did. They were just so burdened down, and all of us parents, we're the ones acting like we're all nervous and we're full of stress and we're worried about our kids, and are they going to do good, and what if they don't win, how are they going to handle it, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Mercer County shines at these things. Out of at least 40 categories yesterday of groups and individuals and stuff, Mercer County brought home 80% or more of first places. We just shine against all the counties down here in southern West Virginia. And so you should be very optimistic with what's going on. But, I was just reminded once again yesterday how that we parents, we're not the ones actually going there doing the presenting. We're not the ones being judged. We're not the ones who really have really much of anything at stake other than just, we're just proud of our kids. These kids were the ones they were the ones carrying the load. This was about them. We parents, we were simply the fans. We were the ones sitting on the outside, cheering them on, trying to encourage them, trying to help make sure that they do good. They're the ones that we talk about in this season called the followers, the ones that believe upon, which culturally meant and contextually meant plugged into, connected to Jesus. The ones actually carrying the load, doing the work. And I was reminded again yesterday the difference between a fan and a follower. And all of us parents, we were relegated to just being fans of our children. But our children were the ones that were actually doing the work. I want to show you a story today as we take another step into this new season, fan or follower. And we're going to turn the burners up a couple notches today. Look at this in John chapter 6. And we're going to read a lot in John 6. And we're going to hit and we're going to miss and we're going to stop and we're going to bebop around. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far side of the Sea of Galilee. That is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he had performed on the sick. A great crowd followed him because they saw what he had been doing. This is preceding the story of where Jesus preaches one of his great sermons to a huge crowd of people. 5,000 men, and we always emphasize that because we don't know how many were there. We just know it said 5,000 men, but we can assume there were some ladies there, and we know there was at least one child there because he had 5 loaves and 2 fishes, so he probably wasn't the only child there. There were thousands of people there. And if you put the stories of the Gospels together, we understand that Jesus taught them. He spoke into their life, and that it had gotten late in the day, and he could see they were very hungry. And where they were at, there wasn't a restaurant row. There were no McDonald's and Burger Kings and Hardee's and all that stuff. There was nothing for the people to eat. And Jesus was moved with compassion because they had taken the time to come listen to him. And yet he knew that they had hunger needs. So he told the disciples, we need to do something about this. What's your guys' plan? And they said, plan? We don't have a plan. Somehow one of the disciples connected with this little boy with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, all we have here are these 5 loaves and these 2 fishes from this little boy. And we never talk about that. But you know what that tells me? That tells me that disciple had already commandeered those 5 loaves and those 2 fishes for himself. Why else would he suddenly have that there? It's not like he went out looking and said, here's all we could find. These guys were already planning on taking care of themselves. Of course, you know the story. It's sure not the story that we're going to focus on today. It's the story behind the story. And Jesus took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and he blessed them, and he began to break them. What a powerful story that is if we let God put his hands on the things in our life and begin to manipulate that and massage that and break those things apart. The results that we could have if we just let God put his hands on our life. So they feed the 5,000 plus. If we read a little more in the story here, let's pick it up at verse 22 and read a little bit. It says, this is after this has all happened. It says, the next day the crowd that had stayed on the opposite shore of the lake realized that only one boat had been there and that Jesus had not entered it with his disciples, but they had gone away alone. And if you remember other parts of the story that we didn't read, after that they fed the 5,000 plus, the disciples got in the boat, went back to the other side. Jesus said, I'll meet you there. This is when Jesus went walking on the water and was freaking everybody out. Then some boats from Tiberias landed near the place where the people had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. Once the crowd realized that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and they crossed over and went to Capernaum in search of Jesus. And when they found him on the other side of the lake, they asked him, Rabbi, when did you get here? And Jesus answered, I tell you the truth, you are looking for me not because you saw miraculous signs, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. On him, God the Father has placed his seal of approval. Then they asked him, what must we do to do the works God requires? And Jesus answered, the work of God is this, to believe in the one who has sent him. And that is so misleading if you were here last week, because that contextually does not mean just to believe that he exists. It has nothing to do with that. Even the demons believe. It means contextually to connect in to the one, to connect to the one that God has sent. Let me tell you about these people. Jesus fed them. He literally fed their flesh, the loaves and the fishes. And Jesus disappears off the scene. They get up the next day and they realize Jesus is not there. And they are just highly motivated to go find him. And they get in the boats and they cross over and they find Jesus. But the story becomes very clear that they're only interested in, let's put it this way, they're the kind of people that goes to an event just to get the parting gifts. You know what I'm talking about? You go to something and it's a seminar or something and a conference. You don't really want to go, but you heard they're giving away good parting gifts. And so you go because you want the parting gifts. And that's the way these people were. And Jesus pointed it out in their life. He said, you did not come to me because of the supernatural stuff that I'm doing and that you want to be part of a supernatural realm. He said, you only have come after me because of what I gave you yesterday. I gave you something physically that you wanted, that you desired, that you needed. And it's the only reason you're coming after me today. He said, if you want to come after me, you've got to learn to connect into me, not just come after me for my parting gifts. They were more interested in the gifts instead of the guest of honor. They really could have cared less who it was that was giving them the things they wanted. Whoever that person was, they're going to find him and they're going to get their gifts. It's kind of like, well, I'll tell you this. When I was a teenager and not living the life that I was supposed to, and my whole world was going down the tubes fast. And when I discovered the party world, man, I jumped in full face first, feet all, everything. I held nothing back. And my mom, she always knew and understood what was going on in my life, even when I thought that I was hiding things from her. And I would come dragging home 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. She would usually be in the bedroom praying, and always being just loud enough to make sure that I heard she was still up praying for me. And it's probably why I'm still alive today. And she would look for her moments. She understood that I was in a condition that I would not be able to receive much if we tried to talk about where my life was going. I was too rebellious. But she would watch for her moments. And I remember one time that I got a paycheck and I was loading up to go and party the weekend away, and my mom just pulled me aside and she said, Scotty, please be careful this weekend. And she told me something that maybe some of your parents told you when you had a fistful of dollars and you was getting ready to go out and just live it up. She knew I was getting ready to go pick up a couple friends of mine that partied hard with me. And she said, you know what? She said, I know what you all are going to do this weekend. She said, but I want you to know those people you're calling your friends, they're only going to be your friends as long as you're supplying the beer. As long as you got the beer money, they're going to be with you. But you run out of beer money and you watch how they leave you. And you know what? My mom ended up being right. I had a lot of people because I had a decent job there for a while and I had decent paychecks. And my friends did not. Suddenly, I became very popular among my peers. And my mom was right. She said, as long as you're supplying what they want, they're going to be your friends. But as soon as you run out, they're not going to be your friends anymore. That's exactly the attitude that these people had. And sad to say, it's the attitude that a lot of Christians have towards God even today. And maybe some of us here today. As long as God has given us what we want, what we need, we're ready to follow Him, but only as a fan. Maybe some of you have heard the old expression that they want the milk without buying the cow. And that was the attitude that these people had. They came after Him, Jesus said, not because they wanted a spiritual connection. They didn't want to be part of a supernatural kingdom with Him. They only came after Him because of what He could give them, what He could do for them. If we look on here to the very next verse in John 6, verse 30, it says, so they asked Him, well, look, Jesus just said, look, if you're only coming after me because of what I gave you yesterday. I fed your flesh. They said, well, then what do we need to do to come after you? He said, well, you need to really believe upon me. You need to connect in with me. So they asked Him, well, what miraculous sign then will you give that we may see it and believe you? What will you do? Is it just me? Am I missing something here? Did they really just ask this of the man who turned 5 loaves and 2 fishes into enough for thousands of people the day before? Are there bigger miracles than that? Let me tell you something. These people are fans, and here's something I want you to understand about fans. Fans ask stupid questions. Take it from a pastor who pastors both followers and fans. Fans ask stupid questions because they're not connected and they don't understand a lot of things that they should understand about the bigger picture. You'd be shocked at the things that people ask me because they live on the fringe of God's kingdom and they never plug in, make a connection with God, with His Spirit, with the Word of God where they understand. And fans always think they know more than they actually know. These people had the audacity to just say to Jesus, what miracle can you do? What sign can you give us that would make us want to believe upon you? Please. These people were there. They were the ones who saw the miracle not 24 hours earlier. Fans ask stupid questions. Fans are always within this attitude of, forget yesterday. What can you do for me today? That's what they're basically saying. They knew they were there yesterday. They know they saw a miracle the day before. They're saying, what can you do for us today to make us want to connect into you? Forget yesterday. See, that's the attitude of fans. And let me tell you that the dangerous part of being a fan at any local church, especially if you're at a church like Cornerstone, where there's always things happening. Because when people come here, whether they're unchurched or they've come from legalistic type church backgrounds or maybe a dead type church background, and you come to Cornerstone, it's a big difference. There's a lot of life here. There's a lot of activity here. There's a lot of fellowship here. There's a lot of noise here. We're in motion all the time here. The danger is that if you come here as a fan and you never become a follower, or you're a person who's always riding that line of being a fan or a follower. You're a fan for a while, then you cross over. You're a follower for a while, but now you're crossing over. You're always flip-flopping. You're in, you're out, you're up, you're down. The problem is that fans are never carried by what happened yesterday. They need something new to happen today. And that's a dangerous place to be in because you can't have something exciting happen in your life every day to keep you motivated and inspired. See, fans will come to a place like Cornerstone and they fall in love with the place or they hate the place. There's no in between. They can't wait to get out the door or they can't wait to get back the next week. And so when people come, you know, they tell us wonderful things. And people like, the people that do like this place, they like it because they like the contemporary praise music. They like that we're not all bottled up and that we're kind of free and maybe they like conversational style preaching instead of somebody screaming at them all the time. Or maybe they just like the building, or maybe they just like the children's ministry, or you know, there's many things to like around here. The problem is if you remain a fan, the thing that you liked so much about this place yesterday, tomorrow the news going to wear off, and it's not going to give you the same goosebumps that it gave you. The thing that drew you, and I see people, they come in and they tell me, this is just really drawing me in, this is just capturing my heart, and oh, I'm just in love with this. And then I've seen so many people through the years that was just bored stiff by those same things. Because that's the way fans are. Fans never truly get connected into Jesus personally, so they rely on the superficial realm. That's what we told you last week. Fans are shallow Christians. They never connect into Jesus, so they're always needing something to happen out here to keep them going. They're always the ones that say, I need you to do some different songs than what you've been doing. I need you to remodel the room. I need you to change up how you're preaching. Because they get bored, and they're just like these fans that follow Jesus. I don't care what you did yesterday. What new thing can you do today to stimulate me, to make me excited again? I should have told you, Dan, to show that video, Me Church, because Me Church, a lot of these videos that we show, they're based on something. There's a reason why people make these videos, because they're based on segments of the Christian population. People that would say, I need you to do this for me, to make me more comfortable, to entertain me more, to make it more palatable for me. That's the way fans think. Fans are never happy because whatever is happening in this realm that dazzles them today, they'll be bored with it tomorrow, and now they need that to change. And if you don't change it, guess what fans are going to do? They're going to walk away and go someplace else where they can get dazzled, all brand new again. Let me tell you, if you don't learn to be connected into Jesus and become a follower of Jesus, you're never going to know the life of Jesus. Because this realm out here, I don't care how we dabble with lights and sound and projectors and with remodeling, with the songs that we do, or how we preach, or how we do children's ministry, how we do youth ministry. It doesn't matter. We can't dabble enough to keep you on the horse. It is not the things in the superficial that has kept me in my walk with God for over 32 years. It is not the things in the superficial realm that has kept me pastoring for will soon be 20 years in just a couple months. This house, Cornerstone, has not existed the last 20 years because of just the things in the natural realm keeping us on board. Those of you that have been walking with God for a while and you've been through some stuff in life, I mean, you have been through some hell. You have been through disappointments. You have been through sorrows and grief. You have just had your very soul shocked at the unexpected things of life, and you have stood through those things, and you've stood because you're not a fan. You're a follower. And followers of Jesus Christ stand not because they're connected into the superficial of what has God done for me lately. They're connected into the heart of God. So that when they go through seasons where it's like Elijah and God is saying, okay, it's time for you to move on, and he doesn't understand how to move on from that place, God dries up the brook so that he is forced to move on. When we go through those seasons where God dries up brooks in our life, we don't fall apart. We don't freak out, and we don't think, well, God hates me and everybody hates me, and we don't run. We're grafted into Jesus Christ. And so when the superficial is not responding the way that we need, when God's not meeting our natural needs the way that we think that he should, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. God is still God, and God is still in control, and my life is still stable, and it's still strong, and there's nothing falling apart. It's the difference in being a fan and a follower. Let's pick it up at verse 41. We've already learned that fans ask stupid questions. Fans have unrealistic expectations. At this, the Jews began to grumble about him because he said, I'm the bread that came down from heaven. And what happened in between these verses, Jesus is saying, look, you've only come after me because I gave you natural bread yesterday. I fixed something in your natural realm. You've come after me today, but now what I gave you yesterday doesn't suffice for today. You're wanting me to fix something else in your life today before you will believe in me today. He said, you're going to have to learn to eat the bread of life. He says Moses and that generation, they ate the natural bread that came down. It was natural. Boom, 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 boom. He said, I am the real bread of heaven. You've got to learn to eat me, consume me. It's got to be about me, the host of the party, not my parting gifts. At this, the Jews began to grumble about him because he said, I am the bread that came down from heaven. Let me tell you something about fans. They're always the ones that grumble at church. I'm not saying only fans. I'm not saying that followers are just gullible people and they go, well, I'm just going to blindly follow you wherever you take me, God, or even Pastor Scott. No, we all still have opinions. We all have ideas and theories and things that we bring to the table, that we try to build this thing together. What I'm saying is that only fans grumble. The Moses generation was the biggest bunch of grumblers in the Bible because they were the biggest bunch of fans. Every single day of their life was based on what is God going to do for us today. We grumbled about not having any food, so manna came from heaven. Now we're grumbling because we're tired of bread, we want meat. Now quail's going to fall from heaven. Now we're thirsty, so we're grumbling again. So he opens up the side of a great cliff, and a river flows out enough to water 2 million plus people and all their livestock. But it's never enough. They run into an enemy, God gives them favor, and they defeat their enemies, even though their enemies had probably a legitimate army, and they were just a bunch of ragtag misfits. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what God did for them yesterday. To stay on board today, I need you to do something amazing in my life today. That's the life of a fan, and it's no life at all. It's a roller coaster life. It is not a life that is filled with righteousness, peace, and joy. The grumblings of fans. Here we're in March Madness. Some of us aren't letting ourselves get excited anymore, but we're still watching. Basketball is not near as exciting to me as football, but it's still amazing how we fans surface and take over the system during season. In fact, we've made it more about the fans than we have the players. College football is a case in point. It's all about the spectators anymore. It's not about the kids playing the game anymore at all. Fans are not the ones on the field. We watch games, we sit as fans, we observe, we critique, we tell everybody, here's what I would do if I was the coach. We tell everybody how stupid the decisions of our coach is. Then we begin to complain about the players. Well, why is that guy even out there? We complain about the plays. That was a stupid play. Who's calling these plays? I do it myself. Because that's what fans do. Fans grumble. You know what the players on the field do? They take whatever was handed to them that day, and whatever the result of that game was, they take it, they own it, they learn from it, and they prepare for the next game. And we sit back and we criticize, we judge, we gripe, we complain, we whine, we get all emotional about it, and we're not even the players. We're technically not even the team. They're the followers, we're just the fans. They're the ones connected into that thing. They're the ones that are carrying that thing emotionally in ways that you and I cannot even relate to. If you were here last week, I get all emotional when West Virginia loses football games, which means I'm an emotional basket case most of my life. But I'm telling you, 15 minutes after the game is over, I'm off doing something else, and I'm not even thinking about it anymore. Those kids are carrying that thing with them and tossing and turning all night, reliving things that they should have done differently or they could have done better. But you know what they're doing? They're going to get up the next day and they're going to go to practice because they're still the team. They're still the players. And they don't have the luxury to gripe and complain and grumble the way that we do. And if we don't like them anymore because they're just not doing what they need to do to please us and make our life better, we'll just say, well, you're not my team anymore. I'm going to get me a new team. And I've thought about doing what some of you guys do, just hand pick a team wherever. Some place I don't even live, never even been, and just saying, I'm going to be in it. Let's see, what can I use here that I'm not going to pick on somebody today? All right, Jared Made's gone. I'll say, was he Florida or Florida State fan? Florida. I'm going to be a Florida Gator fan. Well, why is that? Well, because they're good. Well, they used to be good. I can't be a Gator fan anymore. But seriously, what we do is we switch around teams because emotionally this team is letting me down. We can do that as fans. Christian fans do it all the time. They switch churches all the time. Or they'll stop coming for a while. They'll stop coming to the games, those big Sunday games for a while, because they're upset at some of the plays that the coach called. And they have every right to, because of course the fans know much more than the coach. See, the fans see things through peepholes. Followers don't. Followers see the big picture, and it's why that you don't see players grumble and complain the way you do fans, even though it's about the players. Isn't that interesting? As a pastor, I see the same thing in church. The people who grumble the least are the ones that are in the game, on the field, carrying the loads, wearing 5 different hats. They've taken ownership in the place. It's not, some of you will chuckle with this because when you first start coming, you'll come to my wife or I and you'll say, man, we really like going to your church. And my wife says, whose church? And I go, your church. Whose church? And it finally just ding, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, our church. We're trying to get you to take ownership. This is ours. Just like the kingdom of God just doesn't belong to Jesus. We're seated with him. It's our kingdom. God wants us to see that. It's a father and son business. It's ours. The people who feel ownership to a local church like this, I'm not saying they never gripe or complain. We all come to those places. I gripe and complain about things. But I'm talking about those who just persistently grumble and gripe. They're always the fan base. They're the ones who just sit on the fringe. They pop in on Sundays or every other Sunday or one Sunday a month or one Sunday every 6 weeks, but they're always the ones that know the most about the game. They're always the ones who feel like that the coach is the stupidest man on the planet, or should I say the pastor is the stupidest man on the planet. The fan is always convinced that if they were the coach or they were the pastor, they could call plays so much better. But what the fan doesn't know is that the fan doesn't see even 5% of what they need to see in the big picture. Nobody's perfect, especially this man right here. There's nobody in our leadership with our elders or our deacons or our department heads or our life group coaches. None of them are perfect. But I can promise you that any scenario that we set them in, they know more about that situation than the people they're just coming and occasionally serving. But the fans don't know that. And so the fans sit in their lazy boy and they quarterback the game. But they're not on the field. Fans grumble. Fans grumble. Fans grumble when they are unclear about some of the protocols and some of the processes of a local church and how it operates. Boy, did we get a reminder. Thursday night, went to a training thing for parents in Mercer County schools. A lot of people showed up because there was free food and parting gifts. Supposed to be adults only, but a bunch of people brought their children. I guess everybody got free supper in the family that night, and I guess we just sat on the wrong side of the room. But there was a baby, and then another child just a little above baby, about a toddler, close to us. The lady who spoke that night came from up where my mom lives, outside of Boston, and she was really good. I mean, just a really good speaker about just motivating parents to use every opportunity as a teaching moment in their kids' life. She'd written a book that was just released, and she was really good, so good. And I got almost nothing out of it. I sat there frustrated and mad the whole time because I couldn't hear. I couldn't get focused. The speaker even actually looked at the lady one time and said, "Ma'am, you may have to take her to the back." It landed nowhere. See, what some of the people there didn't understand was there's a bigger picture than themselves. As you come to Cornerstone Family Church, nobody's going to love babies more than this guy you know, because I'm always trying to steal your babies. When Tim and Christine had their baby a few weeks ago, it was one of the rare times that someone who was here and just really, really plugged into this house that had a baby, that I wasn't one of the first people there with roses and say, "Give me that baby right now." And I had some congestion stuff going on. I didn't want to be close to a newborn baby, and it was upsetting to me. I love babies. I love babies. You know what I love more than babies? The human soul. And if I have to pick between listening to a cute, beautiful baby goo-goo or cry a little bit and trying to preserve the moment that souls, some of them need to be saved even, and preserving that moment where people can hear, not just the voice of the preacher, but the voice of the Father in the midst, drawing them and speaking to them, those moments where we need to be convicted. And we try to run a reasonably tight ship with that, but you would be surprised the people that don't understand that and get mad at us and just think that we're terrible, and they've even said things, and you call yourself a family church. Because fans say stupid things. Fans say things because they think they know more than anybody else, when in fact they don't know hardly anything about it. Because fans don't think about the players on the field. Fans don't think about how it affects anybody else around them. They only think about, how does it affect me? Is there loaves and fishes for me today? It's the difference between a fan and a follower. And so I'm just constantly being reminded how the fans always have very, very, very strong, open-aired opinions about how the preacher preaches and what the preacher is preaching and how the praise team sounds and what songs they're doing and was it too hot or was it too cold or were the lights too bright or were they not bright enough or I don't like their policy and how they have to check. We have to check our kids in, and that only a parent or a guardian can come pick those kids up, and just people just always has commentary because they're fans and they don't understand the big picture. But people who are connected and followers and believe upon the very system of God's kingdom, they get plugged directly into the current. And because they're plugged in at the same place together, they see bigger pictures. And when everyone else is out grumbling, criticizing, complaining, coming, going, being moody, being emotional, pouting, being big babies, the followers just stay on the field and they keep carrying ministry and they keep doing what God called them to do. They're not moved by if someone liked them or didn't like them that day. My department heads, they're the gold in this treasure chest. Don't know what Cornerstone would do without the department heads here in children's ministry. Don't know what I would do. I'd have probably resigned years ago. And I always tell them, it's like, look, I want you to take care of everything you can in your departments, but I also want you to know that when the load gets too heavy for you and you need to talk, you need to come to me because you are my greatest concern. I can lose teachers. I can lose the occasional family because they don't like how we do children's ministry. I can't lose my department heads. I can't. But they've matured through the years. And I remember when they would often come to me and say, well, this happened and that happened. I said, well, come on, let's talk about it. And now years down the road, I'm always coming to them and saying, is there nothing you guys need to talk to me about ever? And then they'll say, well, this happened, that happened. I'm going, and you didn't need to talk to me about that? It's like, no, we handled it. It was fine. Because that's what followers do. They take the call of God in their life and they just carry it. They run their race. And they have good days and bad days also. They have shocks and surprises and disappointments also. They battle grief also. But they just stay in the saddle and they keep riding the horse. Fans don't do that. Look at verse 53. Jesus is getting ready to take it up a level here. Jesus said to them, I tell you the truth, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. No life in you. Some of them, because they were fans, they turned and they walked away. They didn't understand what he was saying. He was saying, he wasn't talking about cannibalism. Well, he was talking about cannibalism, just not natural cannibalism. He was talking about spiritual cannibalism. He's saying, look, you can't, if you want to come after me, if you want to follow me, you can't just get in a boat and cross over to see what I'm going to give you today to make your life a little better. He said, you're going to have to consume me. You're going to have to eat my flesh, drink my blood. You're going to have to consume me. You've got to make it about me, not what I can do for you. Look what happened here in verse 60 and 61. It says, on hearing it, many of his disciples said, this is a hard teaching. Who can accept it? Aware that his disciples were grumbling about this, Jesus said to them, does this offend you? Let me tell you something about fans. They're always the first ones to get offended at church. Always. Now, I know that my people in leadership and the seasoned saints here, I know that I grate on them sometimes. I know that I hurt their feelings sometimes because I'm trying to do 25 things at the same time, and I miss some very important things sometimes that I needed to see with them. I'll be the first to admit it. But they absorb it, and if they need to talk to me about it 48 hours later, they do. That's what they do. They call me and they say, I need to talk to you about something. And they come and they sit down and we talk. And when we finish the conversation, we're closer than we were before we ever had the conversation. We have connected to each other in ways that we weren't connected before. That's what followers do. That's what players do. Players get in the locker room and they work things out. They talk things out. They inspire each other. They motivate each other. They get on the same page because it's their team. Fans just grumble. Fans just grumble and complain. You know, The Bible shows this story with the Moses generation. They kept grumbling and grumbling. Man, Moses was used by God, had just set them free from Egypt. Man, they were set free. They could finally have a life. And God was doing daily miracles in their life. Daily miracles. And they kept grumbling and grumbling. And you know what happened? God caused the ground, the earth, to open up, and it just swallowed a bunch of them. And it's a prophetic picture of what happens when people they grumble and they grumble and they grumble about work, about church, about their marriage, about anybody and everybody in their life, their family. The earth just opens up and swallows us. Fans are easily offended. And fans don't usually come and talk to the people they need to about their offense. They carry their offense away, and their offense swells, and it gets bigger and bigger. And before long, their offense consumes them. And their offense becomes considerably bigger than what actually happened. How many can relate to that? It's happened to me. It's happened to you. Something happens. We go and we brood. The thing starts magnifying. We toss, we turn, we plot, we think. We finally learn how to ponder and meditate. It may not be on the Word of God, but it sure is on this thing that someone did to me. Before long, it's bigger than life. Before long, the thing is just considerably bigger than what actually realistically even took place. But that's what fans do. That's what fans do. All it takes is one quarterback throwing one bad play, and we saw it at the end of this college football season. Why did they run that play? And suddenly the whole team is just nothing but dirt. I'm not going to ever trust in that team again. I'm tired of them letting me down. Well, it's fine. You're just a fan. You're free to walk away anytime you want. The players are not. Fans are offended easily. Look at verse 66. I don't think there's anything bad in this. It's John 6:66. For those of you who are very superstitious and legalistic still, you may want to close your eyes on this one. From this time, many of his disciples turned back and no longer followed him. Why? Because he said, dudes, if you're going to come after me, you've got to connect into me. You've got to believe on me. You've got to connect into me. You've got to consume me. It's got to be about me. It can't be about my handouts. It can't be about my parting gifts. It can't be about me doing something new and exciting in your life today. I love the times that God does something amazing in me and I'm on cloud 9 for a few hours or even a few days. But if that's what you're relying on to keep you going, you're in trouble. Because I don't care how mature you get, life is still full of the unexpecteds. So we'll finish here with 67 through 69. I want you to look at this. Jesus, after many turned and said, I'm not playing on this team. I'm not going to this church. I'm not following you anymore. He turned to the disciples. He said, you do not want to leave too, do you? Jesus asked the 12. This is a very emotional part for me. Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. We believe and know that you are the Holy One of God. And here is the problem. We have too many people that have not experienced this. They have not experienced the words of God as their eternal life. They have not personally believed upon Him and know for a fact that He is the Holy One of God and that they have connected in Him where they have begun to consume Him. Connected into Him. Followers connect and they stay the course. They are who they are, whether the sun's shining or it's pouring rain. They are who they are as Christians, whether the brook is flowing with fresh water or God just dried it up. They are who they are, whether things are falling apart or falling in place. It doesn't change anything. They don't need the next little handout from God to keep them motivated for another 24 hours. The life of a fan is a very precarious journey where emotionally you're just going to be all over the map. You're always going to be unhappy about something. They tend to be the very drama-filled people in life, which is no life. Followers have come to a place where they've connected directly and personally into the life of Jesus Christ. They have learned to connect into the Word of God as the bread of life. He has become their foundation, not just going to church and church giving them what they want or they need. They have connected into the King of this kingdom. And now as followers, they're going to say what the 12 did, where else is there to go, Lord? I love the very contemporary translation. Jesus comes to the 12, he says, are you guys going to leave me also? And Peter says, Lord, after following you and connecting into you, where else would we go now? Once you connect personally into the life of Christ, you will never look back. And you will have no idea what I'm talking about today of the difference until you do it. It's the difference in being a fan and a follower. The kingdom of God is no different than a football game. The fans grumble, complain, criticize, judge. They're very opinionated. Fans say stupid things and they ask stupid questions and they have very unrealistic expectations. The players, the followers of Jesus Christ, they get out of bed every day. And they put on the armor of God and they walk through the day as God's children. And they serve, and they go to church, and they tithe, and they give their life away for no other reason than that's just who they are. That, my friends, is a world that is liberating, full of life, stable, and will make you want to live forever. You will want now to be part of your eternity instead of just sitting around waiting for this to end so you can go someplace better. Ain't no place better than this. It's the kingdom of God. Why don't you stand with me? Hey, I know this is tight, but it's right. And it ain't easy. And God went out of his way to let you know that if you're going to transition into just being a token fan of God and transition to a place of being a follower of Jesus Christ, he has given you every visual you can imagine to let you know what it's going to be like. And it's not like some of the preachers told you. Come to Jesus, he'll make everything better. Come to Jesus, he'll make all the bad stuff go away. Come to Jesus. It's nothing but fields of cotton candy. It's wonderful. Well, God presented it more like this. If you come after me, you're going to face the refiner's fire. You come after me, I'm going to put you on the potter's wheel. You come after me, I'm going to put you in the wine press. I'm going to squeeze some stuff out of you. You come after me, I'm going to prune you. I'm going to carve on you. I told you last week, if we tell the truth, there'll never be another person that ever responds to another altar call. Because it doesn't sound very enticing to the flesh. This isn't about setting our flesh free. This is about setting our spirit free. And whom the Son sets free in their spirit is free indeed. Some of y'all have never tasted that. You're churchgoers. You're wonderful people. You're lovely people. We're very fond of you. You're part of us. You're family. We can't imagine our life without you in it. But some of you are fans. And you're not experiencing the life that God predestined for you. Because fans are always disgruntled. Fans are always upset because of what the players are doing, what the coach is doing. Fans are never happy unless you give me a victory today. See, Thursday or Friday night, whenever West Virginia plays, next time I assume it'll probably be Thursday night. I don't know who we're going to play. But if the coach can just give us a victory Thursday night, we're going to go to bed so happy. But if the players and the coach doesn't give us a victory, we're not going to be happy, are we? We're going to be disgruntled. God's trying to turn you from a fan into a follower. I want to pray for you this morning. I want to ask you something first. Maybe I should pray for you first. I don't know. It may change how you answer this question. So, Father, I pray for these people. I pray for us. I pray for us as a church family. The truth is, Lord, that there's no condemnation here today because more of us than not can relate to being both fan and follower. There's parts of us that are sold out. We're very connected into you. And there's other parts of us that are not. Most of us can relate here to, quite honestly, being very double-minded in our walk with you. Lord, I can relate to that. We're here today, Lord, understanding that nothing magical can happen in our life today except for us to hear and receive the challenge to not stay here. And to let your Spirit teach us how to personally believe upon you and connect to you. To be challenged, Lord, to be discontent to be a fan any longer. To be challenged to become one of those people that just jump in the ditch, put on the armor of God, and becomes a full-blown Christian, carrying the call and carrying the load of ministry. Holy Spirit, take the words of this conversation and challenge us from the point when we leave here today to do something, to become very proactive with this conversation. Now let me ask you guys something. Knowing that this season is going to carve on us, knowing this season is going to offend you at times, because fans are offended up front. But when you become a follower, it won't be so offensive. I want to know, are you guys willing to not run from this season and stay plugged into it? I don't know how many weeks it's going to last. One thing for sure, it's going to break soon because Easter's right around the bend, and we got a whole other agenda going on during that time, and then biker weekend and stuff. So next week or two, we need to turn the heat up even more. This is going to be good for us. Say no condemnation. But say we welcome conviction. Better than that, we welcome proviction. Right, Jonathan? All right. I love you guys. Wednesday night, we're starting our new School of the Spirit on Wednesday night. Don't miss it. If you don't understand how the Holy Spirit's trying to work in your heart, this is going to amaze you. It's going to change you. Bless you guys. Go in peace.